that need and want to do an honest day's job, not to be able to do so. So as a precaution, we have ramped down the generators to lower levels of output, and that is to limit the impact should they trip and to slow down the coal handling to manageable levels. Now, Eskom cautions, unfortunately, we have to, the public, that should these criminal acts of intimidation and illegal acts, strike action persist or spread, this would increase the risk of operational disturbances and the implementation of load shedding at higher levels. Now, Eskom appeals to its labour partners and striking employees to embrace to the higher purpose of putting the people of South Africa first, to respect the law and to desist from illegal and undemocratic conduct. Eskom appeals again to the public to use electricity sparingly while we deal with a delicate yet very challenging situation we are currently facing. In order to give a little bit more detail on the operations, I would like to request my colleague, the Managing Director for Generation Acting, Rulani Matabula, to please take us through his view of the operations. Please, Rulani, thanks.
Jan, thank you very much, and afternoon to the colleagues on the call. Yeah, it is indeed unfortunate that we find ourselves in this current situation where we had to increase the stage of load shedding to try and preserve the system.
Rani, please allow me to interrupt you. Your image is looking very dodgy, the lighting. There you go. You look like a wanted suspect. Thank you, sir.
Is this better, security?
Yes, that is workable. Thank you. Keep it like that.
The light on the background was bad. Apologies for that. Yeah, so what I was saying is that from the time that we started experiencing, obviously our employees, when they down tools and decided to go on this illegal strike, many of the activities at a power station had to stop, and in many of our older power stations, we still do most of our activities, including coaling or putting coal into our boilers, using manual systems that requires manual operations continuously to ensure that we have coal. The same applies to taking out the ash from the boilers, where you use a manual system on most of our older power stations, more especially the power stations that we returned to service in the early 2000s. So with the employees obviously embarking on the strike, it needed that we invoke our contingency. However, there has been a lot of intimidation that our employees who were willing, and also the contractor employees who were willing to come and assist, who were heavily impacted in their place of residence on routes to power stations, and that has highly undermined the contingencies that we obviously had to be able to deal with this. I'm trusting that our employees will find it correct that they put the interest of the South African citizens first before their own, and return to their workstations to continue ensuring that we can put power on the grid. I would like to also use the opportunity to appreciate our non-bargaining employees, which are our managers, who had to step up and take over some of the responsibilities, including unit controller roles and some of maintenance activities, operations of our yellow plants and heavy machinery, to ensure that we can continue to put megawatts on the grid. I'm trusting that our employees will find it necessary to return back to their workstations so that we can recover from this current situation and be able to improve the system performance. Thank you, yeah.
Thank you, Rulani Sekonati.
Thank you, colleagues. Thanks for that update. I'm going to go straight into the questions. The first one coming from William Horn of Netwerk Ferentwentach. According to Eskom, roughly how many workers or percentage of workers are striking? Do you have an answer to that question, please, Jan or Rulani?
Yeah, unfortunately, Sekonati, I do not have the detail yet. I don't know if Rulani, you had a system briefing this morning. I don't know if you had some indication on to answer this question.
Thanks, thanks, Jan. Thanks, Sekonati. On a normal day-to-day operation, you would have employees that are on shift on operating. You would have around 35 on a 6-pack power station, and you would have close to 200 people that do maintenance and so forth. What is happening is that since the beginning of the strike, we had close to 100 people that were actually blocking our roads in various of our stations, blocking access to the gates. So despite the 70 to 100 people that were visible standing at our gates and preventing others from coming in, there was an impact of other 200 plus employees who were supposed to come in to do other operating activity, including maintenance activities, who were unable to access sites, and some who were intimidated, preferred that they stay at home for their own safety rather than pitching to work. But in terms of the people who were embarking on the strike, it varies from 50 to 100 on various power stations.
Thank you, Rulani. I think the obvious addition to that response is that no trade union has come out to confirm that it has pulled out its members on strike. And I have to say that's precisely because this is unprotected action. So you do not have a declaration from any one of the 3 recognized trade unions. The next question comes from Ed Stoddard of Daily Maverick. Is there any indication that the unprotected strike will end soon? And does Eskom have any plans to fire any of those involved? I'm not sure who from the Human Resources Department we have here, Jan, but can you answer that question, please?
Yes, I will. An interdict this morning has been granted so we did prepare it last night. So this morning we went to court and the interdict was granted. So we will then deal with, the aspects according now. The question, this is an illegal strike. And should any of our employees, our colleagues, conduct them in a way that is not appropriate, we will take the necessary action. So we do have a disciplinary process. And we have given, I personally have said to the leaders, is to make sure that those employees conducting themselves in a behavior that is not acceptable and which is undesirable, to deal with that decisively. So that is which we will definitely implement.
Jan, thank you for that response. The next question comes from, it's a set of questions from Terence Kramer of Engineering News. But Terence, I do believe also that a lot of your questions have now been answered, but I will just read them for the record. What sort of intimidation has been reported? Has there been any sabotage? Which unions are involved, and have you spoken to the unions about the illegality of this action? Could you say what the diesel stocks look like and the outlook for replenishment is? Terence, at the very start of this briefing, we spoke about the emergency reserves, and that the big part of that is indeed the diesel stocks. And has there been any sabotage? Rulani, are you able to say there has been any sabotage at this point?
Yeah. Sikonati, since the employees obviously have done tools and they have not reported to site, there have not been any report of sabotage or any incident that links to that at the moment.
Segunati, you're on mute. While you unmute, I will deal with a question on diesel levels. Terence, when we started this morning, the diesel stock level at Ankerlig was just under 40%. So we were running it quite hard, all 9 units this morning up until just before 12 o'clock, when we managed to pull them all off. So we are around 30% now, which is extremely low. At Ankerlig, at Gerikwa, around about 60%. But there we have 5 units, and at the pace we were running, we were depleting the reserves very quickly. So that is where we're standing. So what we now need to do, and at Ankerlig, we do not have a pipe that is filling the tanks, so that logistical challenge where we have to bring the diesel by road. So that needs to take place now. So it will take some time to now replenish it to a level that we are comfortable going forward. Thanks, Economic.
Thank you, Jan. I'm now unmuted.
Yes.
Angelo Coppola of China Global Television Network wants to know if there is any evidence of intimidation or any other illegal activity by staff and the union they represent. Rulani, can I ask you to talk about the acts of intimidation, please?
You've been watching the media briefing by Power Utility Eskom, giving us the latest with regards to the stage 4 load shedding that was announced, started at 11 up to later this evening. Well, after the break,